Hello again from Bridgeland Village. On January 9th, 2024, it snowed about 3 to 4 inches with some wind and drifting. I started plowing in my 2001 Dodge about 7 p.m. I had gone over everything, roads, cul-de-sacs, and parking areas by about 2 a.m. on January 10th. At that point, the wind picked up. It was blowing 15 to 25 miles an hour sustained with 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. If I don't continuously work the windiest areas, I risk having to close roads and the drifts just get larger and harder to open later. So after some coffee and food, I started plowing in the grader about 3:30 a.m. Here I'm starting to clear one of the cul-de-sacs. Right there I started to go off the edge of the road. I was able to get it back on. As I approach here, I raise over a driveway. When I start into the bank, you'll see this is one of the areas that drifts. Many of our roads are cut into hillsides, and a lot of those are where it blows the most. What I try to do is pull most of the snow away from the bank with the front plow and the main moldboard, to then push it off the low or the fill side, and use the wing to create a bench or a shelf at a point where the bench is somewhat flat, depending on the height and slope of the bank. This creates essentially a small snow fence that gives a break in the wind so some of the snow falls there instead of making it to the road. This gives me a window of time to work other areas similarly and keep the traveled portion open. As the bank gets higher, I will set the front plow higher, cut the higher part of the bank above the moldboard, but in line, so I can cut about 4 feet of bank and pull it off to the low side. Now I've backed up and I'll do a cleanup pass. because a lot of what the moldboard does knocks some down, or what the wing does knocks some down behind the moldboard. And so this time I'll go back and use the main moldboard here, or a combination of the front plow and the moldboard as I described, one stacked over the other to cut the bank as high as I need to back to the side of the road. So if the bank was a little higher here, I would essentially set the front plow so the bottom of it is at the top of the main moldboard and in line with the bank. That way, when the snowbank is taller than the moldboard, the front plow cuts the top part and it falls in front where the moldboard picks it up and cuts the lower part of the bank. And if I set it right, makes a nice vertical line and the moldboard doesn't undercut the bank, allowing pieces to then cab off and fall behind. Here you can see I'm starting to pull a drift off the bank side and the toe of the blade coming across. There's a lot of snow going under the grader. I'm moving it off to the low side with the wing. There's a hydrant there with the stick sticking up that I have to work past. There's very little room between the bank and that hydrant in this area, and it's a place where it drifts badly. That's about as much snow as I'd want to move with the main moldboard. If it's any more than that, I would use the front plow, and maybe just the front plow or the V plow. I actually run my moldboard hip most of the way back, and that engages the shoes that I use to keep the cutting edge off the road surface and protect the gravel. But what it also does is create more down pressure by the fact that the moldboard is carrying more weight. It holds the grader more stable. for traction and steering. I've cleared the cul-de-sac at the end of that road. Now I'm setting up to come back the opposite direction. You'll see I stop here because I'm too close to the bank. And the wallboard's starting to cut into the dirt bank. So now I'm going to back up and realign a little bit. Go again. There's a case to be made that you don't want to pilot any higher on the wind side, because the higher you pilot, the higher it drifts. But I found that this technique of building this little snow fence, true, it would drift that high if you allowed it to, if you let it go long enough to do that. What this little bench does and that little snow fence is pull some of the snow out of the wind before it gets to the road, and takes enough of it out that it gives me time to go work some other areas and then come back to this point and not have it be completely blown in with snow. And if I just keep working it, sometimes that even gives me time to take a break. These roads are cut into the banks and they're so high that you really can't slope it to let the wind blow across the road and hopefully take the snow all the way across. Plus you'll have a bank on the other side that'll catch the snow too. There's just not enough room to push the snow far enough off, and I can't go fast enough to throw it off any further. So basically, I think I'm left with this option that I think's worked pretty good for me. lot of times in snow removal you'll pitch the blade forward so that the cutting edge will ride over anything you hit. But with the shoes, it keeps my cutting edge above a lot of that. I still hit rocks once in a while. But by keeping it tipped back, as I said, it loads the blade more and keeps more weight on the grader, on the tires. The traction, it keeps the front end down so it steers a little better. It doesn't try to drift. Shift laterally by drifting is what I mean by that. I just went over another driveway, and this bank is really high right here. Then it drops off and it's a little lower, so I adjust the wing. This is a little road that comes off the highway, leads down into the north end of our development. It's a north-south road that gets the west wind as well. The bank's not quite as high. It's a fairly steep little road, so I lock the differential in. It doesn't look very steep on the camera, but doing the same technique here. If I articulate the grader a little bit, it keeps the drive tires behind the load better. And then I actually end up steering a lot with that. Keep things in line, and it changes the angles of the blades a little bit. And There's the stop sign at US 89. Here I'm using the front plow to push the bank off. I've made a pass in the opposite direction with the blade, main moldboard, and the wing down, and cleared most of the road so I can finish the job going back. And since my wing's on the right side, I use the front plow, articulate to the left so the front plow angles a little more and the drive tires stay on the road. Steer tires follow the plow right in the bank. And it takes the rest of the snow and part of the bank off. Try to get a little more speed here, but the terrain and the design of the roads and the hazards along the roads just don't allow the speed I'd like to do to throw the snow further. There I get to a hydrant, and I try to keep those clear, so rather than push snow against it, I'm going around it. Now I'm going to clean this little parking area. Show you a couple passes here, but I usually, coming the other way, use the main moldboard and the wing and make 2 to 3 sweeps through there, and it's rounded on the edge so I can actually articulate and steer through there, so I can just make 2 to 3 passes and then go on down the road. So there's less backing and it's a little faster than it is with the front plow, like I'm doing here. Now it's time for the wing shot. See the snow coming off the main moldboard a little bit, and the wing taking it on off. On off, that sounds funny. Carrying it along, and the wing pushes it off the side of the road. That's the end. Thank you so much for watching.